Hi there, I'm Chris Kilby, a pastor in a pergola, and here is today's bite-sized Bible from 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 12. What I want to say to you is this: be a thermostat, not a thermometer. You understand the difference? A thermostat is something that sets the climate, sets the example, sets the culture, whereas a thermometer just reads it and gauges it. So there's a difference. And Paul, in the verse that we're going to look at today, gives Timothy a handful of areas where he's to set the temperature, where he's to set the climate, where he's to set the example in the church, even as a younger leader. And I want to urge you today to set an example to the people around you in your world in these same five areas. Let me read to you what Paul said to Timothy, verse 12. Don't let anyone look down on you because you're young, he said. But set an example for the believers in speech, in life, in love, in faith, and in purity. A handful of things, attributes, where you today can set the climate. Speech. How are you going to use your speech today? You see, you can use it to build up and to encourage, or to tear down and discourage. How are you going to use your speech to set the climate today? In life, he says. Well, this is just the normal stuff of life. Your comings and goings, how you live, where you spend your time, where you spend your money. How are you going to set an example to others in that today? So speech, that's life. He says, I want you to set the example in love. That means you're going to love like Jesus loves. Not to get something out of it, not to get something back from it, but in a servant way, sacrificially and unconditionally. So he says, I want you to set the climate in that, Timothy, and I want you today to set the example of that. How are you going to love those around you? So your speech, your life, your love. The fourth one he mentions is faith. He wants him to set the example of faith. You know, here's a question. When did you last take a bold step of faith where you really needed God to show up? Where you, I don't know, took on something new in faith, tried to break some fresh ground, where you really grew in God, or maybe, I don't know, gave sacrificially to a project or a person. You see, you can set the climate in that. You can set the pace in faith. So that's speech, that's life, that's love, that's faith. And the final one to fulfill his handful of attributes for him to set the example in was in purity. You know, this is the things that we think and say and do. You know, are you keeping yourself pure, godly? You see, the things that we get involved in, they will either cleanse us, or they will pollute us. They will either mature us or manure us. So, today, I want to say in your world, be a thermostat, not a thermometer, and set the example to those around you in speech, life, love, faith, and purity. I'm Chris Kilby. That was today's bite-sized Bible from 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 12, and I shall see you next time.